While we are mostly focusing on Britain's migrant crisis on this channel, in this video, we're going to be talking about how the EU's borders are collapsing and the Europeans are running out of money. Yes, the European Union borders are in chaos as usual. Things are getting much worse for the continents of Europe, especially the 27 member states, especially those who are closer to the Turkish border, but even the western side, including France, are having issues, which makes you think that they don't really have any urgency when it comes to stopping the migrants from crossing the English Channel. But let's talk about what's actually going on, because the last couple of days there's been a lot of discussions inside the European Commission. I'm guessing there could have also been a lot of emergency meetings about this, but nobody has any solution. So firstly, over 500,000 asylum applications in EU countries happened in the first half of 2023. So from January to June 2023, we have over 500,000. Now they're talking about that these numbers are going to be exceeding 1 million. But it's more than that, because they are not actually counting some of the refugees, because they are talking about asylum seekers. So they're mostly obviously going through the illegal routes, but even those who are in camps, legal asylum seekers, or those who can actually have a legitimate case. But they're not actually talking about those who are legally economic migrants. So they're not counting those, but they're also not counting a big chunk of asylum seekers who are from Ukraine, for example. These figures do not include the 4 million plus Ukrainians who have fled their country over the last year or so. So obviously, if you don't count the 4 or 5 million Ukrainians, the numbers are still chaotic. Because the Ukrainians, we could say, well, they actually were vetted. They came through a channel to be distributed across the continent. But the rest of them, who are basically claiming to be from different places, but they're not, because we've seen the trend, a lot from North Africa and the Middle East, they're not actually from the places they are saying they're from, and they're not always children. We've seen the guys with a beard and everything else claiming to be 14 years old. It's not really true. But the EU asylum claims are also expected to exceed 1 million in 2023. But this is actually causing massive chaos when it comes to the backlog. No one's talking about the backlog inside the European Union. We are talking about our problems, rightly so. We have a massive issue with our Home Office and our Prime Ministers, well, all of them, successive ones. But let's also talk about what's happening in the EU, because a backlog in the European Union will have a massive effect here. Because the more the crisis escalates inside the EU, the more we're going to feel it eventually, because the migrants are going to come here. I'm not saying that it's our job to go and help the European Union, because they don't deserve our help, but also they're not going to listen to us. Also, it's not our job. What we have to do is just find a way to turn the boats around. But we don't have politicians who are brave enough to do that. Anyway, the European nations do not have the processing capacity anymore to handle the increase in applications, as the case backlog has also increased by 34% over the past 6 months. It's interesting because they say Syrian nationals send the largest number of applications, followed by other nationalities, including Afghans, Turks, and Russians. So if they are talking about those who are in camps, or those who actually have paperwork and some ID identification, then that's fine, because actually we could tell, oh, you are from Afghanistan. It will be slightly different to those who are crossing the English Channel and destroying their passports and claiming to be everybody's suddenly from Afghanistan because there's chaos in Afghanistan. It's like a few years ago, there was chaos in Syria. Everybody was from Syria, suddenly. Like with different skin colors and everything else. Everybody was a Syrian. But they said there was a press release by the EU Asylum Agency saying, together, these parallel trends pose significant challenges to the EU plus asylum and the reception systems authorities, so much so that by June 2023, the EU Asylum Agency was offering operational assistance to 13 member states. So the centralized bureaucratic body was trying to help these other countries in the EU to manage their affairs. So I thought the European Union was not really a government. Apparently it is. But the other thing that's quite interesting is about the type of people who are actually going. The data that we have shows that the application, this is all the applications. So the blue section is between January to June. The yellow section is between July and December. We don't have July to December yet for 2023, as you can see. We just have the blue section. But the numbers were crazy in 2015, 2016. That was one of the crisis moments for the EU. And we had, obviously, Angela Merkel opening a door in Germany to everybody. And then they all regretted that immediately. But let's talk about the different types. So when you change the countries, the top left, I now change it to Pakistan. Number of people coming from Pakistan is fascinating. Right now, between 2015 and now, we had, almost 50,000 people, 2015 and 2016. The numbers went down a little bit, but still high. 2022, almost 40,000 people. Like half of this year so far is actually more than half of last year. The blue section 2023 is higher than 2022. So the numbers from Pakistan could get to 50,000, right? And that's Pakistan. But look at Iran. Iran is literally, effectively, in a civil war right now. There's an actual crisis going on that no one cares about in the establishment. But even Iran is not that crazy. The numbers coming from Iran. Like, you would think that people coming from Iran is more acceptable right now. But 2015, 2016 was chaotic, right? But even that was about 40,000. So it didn't really reach 50,000 like Pakistan. But since then, the numbers are so low. 2020 was about 7,000. 2021 was about 8,000. 2022 was just above 10,000. And this year it's gone up, obviously, because of the civil war and everything else. So obviously the uprising. But still, it's about 10,000. So are you telling me that people from all the other countries, including Pakistan, are in a more of some sort of war-torn country situation compared to Iran? It's because most people in Iran are still staying in their country and fighting, and a lot of people are temporarily leaving the country to seek refuge and go back to fight. That's usually what's been happening over the last few decades. Now, we also have some nutters who are pretending to be asylum seekers from Iran, but they're actually Islamists who are trying to come here to cause chaos. And for those of you who've been following what's been going on in London from the Wandsworth and the prisoner who escaped, there are a lot of links, apparently, between him and spying for Iran. So it's not really the first time something like that has happened. Now, this is quite interesting because this is about the cases pending, the actual backlog. It's gone up again massively between June 2021 and June 2023. The blue section is waiting less than 6 months, and the yellow section is more than 6 months. And there's also a grey one, which is tiny each year. It's unknown. I love how there's an unknown. How do you not know the certain cases, asylum cases, how long they've been waiting? It's not really rocket science. I don't understand this. I have no idea what they're doing in these countries. You think our home office is bad, and it is bad. But I have a feeling in some of those countries, including Germany and France, the system might be more chaotic than Westminster. Wow, isn't that something? Anyway, let me know your thoughts, and especially if you are from one of those European countries, let me know in the comment section what's happening in your land. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.